Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be creating this annual cleaning planner. This planner has several parts. We have a part dedicated to daily cleaning, weekly cleaning, monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. We're going to be creating all of this from scratch in today's video. Here's our tutorial checklist. We've completed the template overview. We can cross that off. We'll move on to creating the table structure, focusing on first creating the daily checklist area, which is this area right here. Start off with a new sheet. And what I like to do is clean it up, and that means I select the entire sheet, add the font that I like to use, and change the alignments. The next thing I like to do is remove the excess rows and columns that I don't need. So going back to the template, we do need to add additional columns. And for the rows, we need to remove anything after 52. So rename this annual cleaning planner 2. All right, let's remove the excess rows first. Everything after 52. Select the entire range, and we're going to add more rows. Then I'll select the entire range, resize the rows to 30. Select the first column, last column, and resize that to 30. Back here, we'll start with creating this header area. The header area is in row 2 from column B all the way to O. Let's do that first. Here, column B to O, row 2. Put an outline around it and merge. Then select row 2, increase the row height to 65. All right, and then you can call it whatever you want. I'm reusing the same name that I had in the template example, daily cleaning schedule / planner. Increase the size of the font and make it bold. We can add some colors later. Next, we'll create this area right here from row 4 all the way to 12, right underneath the header area. All right, just select the entire range, add a border around it. So we have this outer border area. Now we're going to select this header area as well, border around it. Back here, we're going to need to adjust the column sizes. You can see that column B is a narrow column because we have the checkboxes there. And for column C, this is where the taxes are going to be. We'll select all the columns that need to be adjusted at once. B, D, F, H, J, L, and N. Every other column, right click, make that 30, and then select every other column for the text area. Resize, make it 200. If you want to have more space to add text, go ahead and make these columns wider. All right, so now we can divide them into the different sections. Select the first 2 columns. This is going to be the first one for the first weekday. This is where the header is going to go for the weekday. Merge, select this entire range, both of them, and we're going to paste them throughout the rest of the section. And then now we can add our weekday. Start with whatever weekday you want. And all you need to do is type the first day once, hover around it until you see the cross icon, and just drag it all the way till the end. And it would autofill it with the rest of the weekdays. Next, we'll work on this area here, starting from row 13 all the way down to 51. Back here, select the entire range, 13 to 51. We'll start with giving it an outline, and we'll go ahead and do one and then copy it to the rest of them like we did before. Select this first area, give it an outline as well. We want to do internal horizontal borders. To do this, click on horizontal borders, and I do want a different style, so I'll change the color to the lighter gray, change it to the style, the dash line, and we need to add some checkboxes. Select the first column all the way down. Go to insert, checkbox, and if you want, you can keep the size checkbox. I like it to be a little bit smaller than the text. I'll decrease it to 9. Then select the range, copy, and paste it 6 more times. All right, here is where the charts are gonna go. We can merge this area, and then we can use this paint format to merge the rest of them. We're just copying the merge that we did for the first one to the rest of them, or you can even select more of them at once and just apply that merge to make things go faster. All right, so here is what it looks like. Now you can go ahead and start adding some color. Everyone has a different taste and style when it comes to colors. So I'm not going to show you what colors to add, but what I will show you is the way I add colors. What I mean by that is when you go to fill color, instead of using these random colors here, I mean, you're free to use them, but the way you apply the colors does make a difference. Meaning if you use this custom colors here, you have more flexibility down the line when you want to change the colors, especially if you want to create a different format or different theme for somebody else. Instead of applying the colors directly here, go ahead and click on custom color. You can select a theme color here. Go ahead and change it to whatever you want. And then later on, when you want to change your color, you can change it directly here, and it changes it automatically throughout the rest of the template. I do have a very short video that explains how and why I do this in more detail. I'll leave that in the link below. You can go ahead and check it out. Okay, so this is what mine looks like with some color applied. The next step would be to add some placeholder data. You can go ahead and start adding your realistic task, right? Whatever task you're going to be completing on a daily basis, you can add it. But if you want to complete this tutorial with just some placeholder task and then add your task later on, you can do so as well. All right, so I've added in some placeholder data each day with 15 tasks, but there is a lot of room to add additional tasks. Next thing we're going to do is add the scratch off effect. Anytime we check a box here, you can see that it crosses it off automatically. This is going to be done using conditional formatting. We'll do this section by section, starting with the section here. Select the entire range and go to conditional formatting. So you can find it here or under the text color, or you can go to format and conditional formatting. And once you open that up, the first thing you would normally do is select the range, but we already have the range selected. So we can move on to the next step, which is the format rules. We're going to select the drop down and go to custom formula is, type equals. And then you want to type the location or the cell with the first checkbox. In this range, it is in column B and row 13. We want to type B13. Before typing B13, we want to type the $sign. Before we hit done, we want to make sure that we're okay with the formatting style. I don't want the background color. I'll remove that. And I'll change the text color to a lighter gray color. This one or this should be fine. Let's use this one. And to get that strike through effect, click strike through, and you can see a summary of what it's going to look like here. If you're okay with it, click done. And you can see here, it's already applied it correctly to this section. I did get a question once about why we need to add the $sign. Here's why. If I go back here and I'm going to remove the $sign and just have it as B13 and click done. When I cross it off, you can see that it only applies the conditional formatting to this column. It doesn't apply to this column. We want it to apply to both columns here. Let's go back and add that $sign back. Now that's done, we need to repeat the same steps for the rest of them. It's going to be the exact same process. Since we're already here, we can click on add another rule and select the range. The same thing, custom formula is equals $sign, cell D13. Why D13? Because that's the first cell with a checkbox. And do the same exact steps for the formatting style. Change it to the color you want and add the strike through and click done. We can make the process go a little bit quicker. So instead of clicking done, click on add another rule. What that does is that it's going to automatically save what we just did for this column, and it will make an exact copy of what we just did here. Let's do that. Add another rule. What we just did is not lost, but now we have a copy of it. And the only thing we need to do is change the range. This is from range D to E. We can change this to the next range, which is F to G, and change the formula here. Instead of D, it's going to be F. And then if you want to test it out, you can see that if I cross this off, it has the conditional formatting applied to it, and it's independent of the one here. They're all working independently. And then you just repeat the same steps for the next one and on and on. Let's do one more together. Add another rule, change the range. So this time it's going to be from H to I. And of course, the formula will be changed to H, like so. And we already have the formatting style. That's actually where the time saving comes. We don't have to change everything here. Continue until you complete the rest of them. All right, that step is done. The next thing we're going to do is create this section right here. First, we'll add the formula that calculates the percentage of checkboxes. So we have 10 tasks here, and we have 4 checkboxes checked. That's how we get 40%. If I check one more, this is 50%. The chart and the formula here responding to what's going on down here. First, we'll start with adding the formula, and then we'll create the charts. Here is what that formula looks like. It's going to look through the first column, which is column B. If it's true, it means the checkbox is checked. If it's false, it means it's unchecked. And then it's going to count that. But there is a condition. It's going to look at column C to see if column C is not empty. The reason why this is important is that if you count the checkboxes and there is nothing in column C, your calculation will be incorrect. It has to be checkboxes that are checked when there is an actual task in column C. So it's counting the checkboxes and dividing it by the total number of tasks in column C. That's how the formula is doing. All right, it's pretty straightforward formula. We're going to copy this formula. And when we paste it here, it's automatically going to work. And the reason why is that I'm using the exact same locations in this template that I used in the example. My advice to you is use the exact same ones that I'm using, and then later on you can make adjustments and the formula would actually adapt automatically. If you're not going to be using the exact same locations that I'm using, here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that this first range here matches the range where your checkbox is. In this case, B13 to B51 is where our checkbox is. Just make sure that you select in that range. And then the second range here is where your task is going to be. In this example, it's in column C, starting from C13. And this is also the range for the task in column C. As long as you match the exact ranges, you should be fine. All right, so this says 13%. Let's go ahead and check all of them at once, and it should be 100. And if we uncheck all of them, it should be 0%. So this works the way it's supposed to. And then what's nice about this is we can just copy these and paste it to the rest of them. All right, just test it out to make sure it works. All right, it looks like everything works the way it's supposed to. Next, we want to add this chart, and we want this chart to represent the ratio of checked versus unchecked. You can actually select the range with the checkboxes. You can go to chart and add a chart, change it to your donut chart, and it would almost be okay. The problem with doing it this way is that it will be inaccurate because it's taking into consideration all of the checkboxes, but it's not taking into consideration the fact that we have a lot of blank slots here. Now it's saying that we have 12.8% true, which is not correct. We have half of our task completed, but the reason why it is incorrect is because it's considering all of these checkboxes as false, which it is, but it's not considering the fact that we don't have any task here. Doing it directly is quicker, but not accurate if you're going to have certain areas without tasks. Now, if you're always going to have tasks with every checkbox all the way down, then you should be fine. But if you're going to have some blank spots every now and then you don't want to do it directly like this. In order to do this correctly, we need to use a formula. The formula is right here. I changed the text to white so it blends into the background, but I'll change it now so you can see what that looks like. I have two formulas. The first one is counting the number of checkboxes that are checked when there is a task here. You can see it's taking this column into consideration. And the second formula does the opposite. It's counting the number of checkboxes not checked also when there's a task here. It's always taking the task column into consideration. So you can see here we have 5 checked, 5 unchecked. And if I check this, now this goes to 6 and this goes to 4. So pretty straightforward formula. So go ahead and pause the video so you can copy the formula. All right, so we're going to paste it right here like so. And now it says 0, which is fine. If I were to check this box, it changes to 1, which is correct. So here's the second formula. We'll do the same thing, just paste it here. And we have 14, which is correct because we have a total of 15 tasks. Check off another one, 2 and 13. It works exactly the way it's supposed to. Now what we're going to do is use this to create our donut chart. To do this, select both of them, click on Insert Chart. And what it's doing is automatically inserting the column chart, which is not what we need. We'll change that to the pie chart. And you can select the donut chart here if you want, but you can change the pie chart to look like a donut chart. So it really doesn't matter which one you select. So we have a pie chart here. Click on Switch Rows/Columns. When we do this now, you can see the breakdown for the checked boxes and the ones that have been unchecked. Next thing to do is go to Customize. I'm going to remove the background color and the border color. We don't need it. We do have dedicated spots with a background and a border. We can take that off safely. Then go to pie chart. This is where you can change the donut hole and you could change it to whatever you want. I like it a little bit thinner, so I go up to 85. If you want to change the color, here's where you're going to do it. Double click. I'm going to select this color from my custom color theme. Double click on the second one, and when it comes up, select a neutral color to represent the unfinished task. We still have the labels here. Let's get rid of that. Click on none and now move it into the space. When we check this off, this percentage here matches what's going on with this progress bar. If we check everything off, we have 100% and you can see that it works exactly the way it's supposed to. So for the rest of them, when we copy this formula and paste it here, it's going to adapt to the location of the cells here. If I double click here, it's automatically adapting to the new location. So just copy it and paste it for the rest of them. Next, we're going to do the same thing for the charts. Click on these 3 dots, copy charts, paste it here. We do need to go into the chart and edit the range for the chart. We'll do that next after we have added a chart to each section. All right, let's do this one next. Okay, starting with Tuesday, edit chart. This is B3 to C3, right here, B3, C3. This range is going to be D3 to E3. Change this to D, change this to E, hit enter. Now it represents what's going on here. So if I click, this chart responds. And then we'll do the same thing here. This is going to be F and G. All right, now you can test it out just to make sure everything works. And you can see that all the graphs are independent of each other and they're responding the way they're supposed to. Now that this is done, we can hide these numbers. Click row 3, change the color to the same as the background color. In this case, it's white. If you're using a different color for the background, just try to make sure the text matches the background color. Let's go back to our checklist, see how we're doing. All right, we're done with the first part, so a few more to go. So let's keep going. Next, we're going to do the weekly checklist area. This entire section is dedicated to the rest of the checklist. So your weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual. And we'll start with this section right here. So add the header and then create a weekly checklist area. All right, first we'll resize column P. This is going to be at 30. And the header is going to be from column Q all the way to AC. Merge that and add the header for that. Weekly, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, and annual. Make that bigger and bold. And we'll add a border around that. And then back here, the weekly section is going to start in row 4 and end in row 15. All right, 4 to 15, Q to AC. So back here, row 4 to 15, Q to AC. Put a border around that. And then we're going to go back here and adjust the column sizes. The first column is going to be a wider column because that's where the task is going to go. And then from column R to AC, we're going to make them narrow. Back here, this is going to be a wide column. Let's do 300. And from column R all the way down to AC, resize all of them together at 30. And let's just make this smaller to fit the text better. All right, here is where the header is going to go. We'll go ahead and put a border around it like so. Even though we only need 7 checkboxes here from Monday through Friday, the reason why we have additional columns added is because we're going to need them when we create the monthly task because we need to have 12 columns. This is the weekly area. Add the title weekly. And then let's type Monday through Sunday. M for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. We have this additional space, which is fine. We're just going to select this and move it all the way down and then replace these lines. So here is where our checkboxes are going to go. Select the entire range here under the weekdays, Monday through Sunday, and add our checkboxes in by going to insert, checkbox, and I'm going to decrease it to 9. So far, so good. We need to use row 5 for something. We're just going to remove the checkboxes from row 5. All right. You see how we have these excess columns? We're going to incorporate these excess columns into the task area. Select this entire range and merge. And I'm going to merge all of these together. So select all of them. Instead of clicking merge, click on the arrow and do merge horizontally. This is what we're going to use for a progress bar. Here we have a percentage, which is a percentage of tasks that we have checked off. If I check 1, you can see that this grows. And then you have a progress bar. There's a Sparkline formula here that calculates the number of checkboxes that I have checked and grows in response to that. We're going to merge all of these except for the last 2, where the formula is going to go for the percentage. And here we'll place the formula for the Sparkline. Back here, merge the last 2, and the rest of them would be merged here as well. Add another border around this progress bar area. Select the internal area of the table. We're going to add internal horizontal borders, change the color, this gray color and this dotted line. Select this and make it bold so it stands out. Now we can add some colors. Go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I'm going to reuse the same colors that I've used here. All right, so I've added my colors and I added some placeholder task data here. Next thing we're going to do is to add the formula here for the Sparkline and the formula here to calculate the percent of checkboxes that have been checked in the weekly area. Back here, here's what that formula looks like. I'm going to show you what's important to note, especially if you're not going to be using the same ranges that I am using. This range here, W6 to AC15, it's the range that we have our checkboxes, the entire range, all right? And it appears twice. The other thing to note is these numbers right here. This is the X code for the color that I used for the Sparkline, and I'll show you what that looks like if you need to change it. So let's copy this formula, paste it right here and hit enter. Nothing shows up because nothing is checked. Let's test it out. Once I check this, now you can see that it is starting to grow exactly how we expect it to. Here's how you change the color. Here's the formula. This is the X code. You don't have to use an X code if you don't want to. You can delete these numbers. What's important is that whatever you add has to be added inside the quotation marks. You can type in colors. For example, red. If I type red and hit enter, this changes to red. Let's do one more. Let's try blue. It changes to blue. So you can type in some primary colors, or if you have the specific X code of a color you want to use. So let's say I want to actually use this color right here. And I'm just going to quickly pull the X code from here, because if I click on this, like I was going to add a custom color, it automatically pulls this color from the cell location that I was clicked into, and it gives me the hex code. So copy that and go back here. And now we're going to delete blue. Again, keeping the quotation marks intact, paste it in there and hit enter. And now it changes to this color. So you can add whatever color you want. It needs to be placed right after it says color, with or without the hashtag. It doesn't matter. It should still work. As long as it's within the quotation marks, you should be fine. All right. Next, we'll work on the percentage right here. Again, very straightforward formula. What it's doing is looking through the range and looking for what is true, meaning what's checked off, divided by everything else. Let's copy the formula, paste it here. It works without having to change anything because I'm using the exact same range. Just make sure if you're not, change it to the range that contains the checkboxes for your weekly task. Hit enter, and now we have 10%. And I continue to check boxes. It goes up accordingly. I'm just going to check everything at once so I can see that it is 100, and this should be all the way here. All right, so we have 100, uncheck everything, we have 0. Okay, here's a quick tip. If you want to check off or uncheck a lot of checkboxes at the same time, instead of clicking each one, it's going to take a long time and it's just annoying to do. All you need to do is select the entire range and hit the space bar on your keyboard once, and it's going to check everything, and hit it one more time and it checks off everything. And this would actually come in handy when you're working on the daily area, right? You're going to be using this every single week. Let's say you've checked it off this week. When the next week rolls around, you don't want to go through each one and check it off one by one. Just select the entire range, hit your space bar one time, it checks everything off, hit it one more time, and everything is unchecked. Next, we're going to do the monthly task. And this is our task that you want to complete once a month. It's going to go from January all the way through December. Here, we're going to type monthly, and then we'll type January through December. Let's add some borders now. So I'll add a border around this area from here to row 27. Select the entire range, put a border around it like so. And then we're going to do the same thing we did above. This is going to be for our Sparkline and our percentage. That is going to have its own border. Select this range here. We're going to do internal borders. Click on that, internal borders, and of course change the style to however way you want. I'm going to be using the lighter color and the dotted line. And again, it's hard to see, but once we take out the grid lines, you should be able to see it perfectly. Okay, so for the spark line, it's going to be here. So select everything except for the last two columns, merge that, and then merge these two columns together. Okay, and here's where the task is going to go. You can add whatever task you want. All right, so I have my placeholder task here. I'm just going to left justify. It looks like this, just like we have here. Next, we're going to add our checkboxes. Select the entire range, insert, checkboxes, decrease the font size to 9, and then go ahead and add the colors you want. All right, and the last thing we're going to do is add the formula for the spark line and for the percentage. Back here, here's what that formula looks like. Again, it's the exact same formula we're using. The only thing we're changing is the range. If you look at the formula, the range here is R18 to AC27, and that is the range here where all the checkboxes are, R18 to AC27. All you need to do is change the range to match where your checkboxes are. Same thing goes for the percentage. It's the same formula. We're just changing the range to match the range for the monthly task. So now that we've placed them, we can double check to make sure it is in the right spot, which it is. You can see it's selecting the right area. And now we can test it out by checking some boxes to make sure it works the way it's supposed to. And it looks like it is. Check all the boxes and it's saying 100. So we know it works the way it's supposed to. All right, back here, we did the weekly and we did the monthly. The next one is a quarterly checklist. Here is what that looks like. This is going to go from row 28 to 39. So we're adding our borders around it. We'll also do the border around the header area and the border where the formula is going to go. Do some internal horizontal borders. Here's where the header is going to go. This is going to be quarterly. And then for where the checkboxes are going to go, we're going to do 2 columns per quarter. We'll merge 2 columns together and we'll add our checkboxes there. This is going to be for quarter 4, quarter 3, quarter 2, and quarter 1. And then because we have these excess columns here, we can select everything and merge. Same thing for where the task is going to go. Select everything in that range. All right, so we're going all the way to column U. Go to merge, click on the arrow, merge horizontally. All right, so our task is going to go here. And then merge this area for the progress bar. Leave the last 2 columns, merge, select the last 2 columns, merge. Now we're going to merge the area for the checkboxes. It's going to be 2 for 1 checkbox. Just merge this, merge the next 2, the next one, and the last one. All right, select this range. We're going to add the checkboxes and then we'll copy it down to the rest of them. Insert, checkbox, decrease the size of the font to 9. And now we can just copy it and paste it all the way down. Copy the rest of the range, right click, paste. All right, and then just add back the border that we lost here. Okay, all right, so we have our checkboxes done. Go ahead and add your colors and your placeholder data. All right, so I added my colors and my placeholder task. Now we'll add the formulas. Back here is the exact same formula. The only thing we're doing is changing the range. Here's the formula. So now instead of selecting this entire range, we're only selecting the range here where we have our checkboxes. All right, so paste it here and double checking to make sure the right range is selected, which it is. Hit enter. Do the same for the percentage calculation formula. Paste it here. And now let's double check to make sure it works the way it's supposed to. This is working. This is increasing. Select all of them. 100, 0%. Perfect. So that's done. Next, we're going to work on the semi-annual. Here is the semi-annual right here. This would be used for tasks that you want to do twice a year. The first time you're going to complete this task, you check it off here. The second time, you check it off here. The range for the semi-annual task is from Q all the way to S. So back here, we have our column Q to S all the way down. Let's add the outer border first. This is going to be our header area. Let's add a border there. And we know this is where our spark line is going to go. Add a border there as well. Merge this last 2. This is where the percentage is going to go next to the spark line formula. And then just select the entire area. Borders, horizontal borders, same thing we did before. And then you can add your title, add your header. This is going to be semi-annual. And I'm just adding 1 and 2 here, but you can definitely add whatever makes sense to you. Select this area to add our checkboxes. Insert checkbox, make it smaller. All right. And then now go ahead and add whatever colors you want. I'm going to use the same colors from my color palette. I have my colors placed and some placeholder data here. Let's add our formulas next. All right, here's the formula. Again, the exact same formula. Now the range is going to be this range right here, these 2 columns where we have our checkboxes. All right, so paste the formula here, hit enter, and I'm double clicking to make sure it's selecting the right range. Selecting this extra row, which we don't need, change it to 42, R42, and then change this one to 42 as well. And now let's copy the formula for the percentage. Paste it here. This is correct, R42 to S51, which is this range right here. Hit enter. And now let's test it out. All right. Finally, let's do the annual. The annual is going to be in this area right here. Let's select the entire range, add an outer border. All right. And this is going to be the header area, add a border there, add a border around here for the spark line and the percentage. Select this area, add some internal borders. For the annual, we're only going to be using this last one. I'm just going to place one here and merge these cells. This is going to be annual. All right. This is the spark line area. Merge this and merge this for the percentage. We're going to need to merge these cells so we can add our task. Select the entire range except for the last one, all the way down. All right. Go to merge, select the arrow, merge horizontally. All right. Now we have the space here for our task. Here's where we'll add our checkboxes. So select the range, insert, checkbox. All right. Go ahead now and add your colors and placeholder data. All right. And then the last thing, of course, would be to grab our formula, double click, copy the formula, paste it here, AC42 to AC51. That's correct. The last formula for the percentage, AC42 to AC51, and that's this range here. Copy and paste it right here. And now we can test it out to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. All right, so now that we have completed all of the different sections, go to View, Show, Grid Line, and here is what the final product looks like. Hello, Editing Darwin here. I realized as I was editing that there was a scenario that I failed to explain. The original simple formula that I showed earlier would count the number of checkboxes regardless of the number of tasks here. But this new formula that I'm showing you now is only going to count these checkboxes here when there is a task here. I hope this makes sense. And this is what the formula looks like. So if you want to pause the video, go ahead and pause it so you can use this formula instead. And the formula also changes for this as well, because this also needs to be calculated based on the fact that there is a task here or no task here. And then the same applies for the rest of them. For the monthly, here's the updated formula. And then for the percentage area, this is what it looks like. For the quarterly, here's what that looks like. And for the percentage for the quarterly, here's what it looks like. Semi-annual, here's the formula. For the percentage, here's the formula. For the annual, here's the updated formula. And for the percentage, here's the updated formula. Again, just to be clear, I'm going to repeat myself. The original formulas that I use should work, but they're only accurate if you're going to be using every single row here to calculate your progress and your percentage. If you're not going to be doing that in this example where we have gaps, as you can see, then this second set of formulas is more accurate. The changes we made here does not apply to this area for the daily cleaning because we already took that into consideration when we made the calculations here. I hope this wasn't too confusing, but if it was and you have additional questions, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, back to the video. I'm going to select the entire tab just to uncheck the boxes. So we have a clean slate to start with. And then the following year, if you want to reuse this, you have a clean copy that you can duplicate and reuse. All right, so we're done. And before we go, I want to thank my current Patreon subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me, and it gives me the opportunity to spend some time creating more of these types of tutorials. So thank you very much for your support. The other thing I want to say is that this spreadsheet that we created today, I will be providing to paid Patreon subscribers. So if you want to be a part of it, go ahead and check it out. The link will be down below. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like. It goes a long way to help my channel. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.